talking about business intelligence systems, and these are, ways that businesses use the amount of data that they have access to, operational data, purchase data, social data, and employee knowledge, analyze it, and come up with information that they can make decisions based on it. And this kind of summarizes this chapter. We bring in data, we do business intelligence applications like reporting, data mining, we'll talk about that later, and we provide business intelligence to our knowledge workers, the people making decisions. And where we kind of left off was we started talking about these business intelligence applications, and we talked a little bit about reporting applications. And reporting applications aren't sexy like big data and things like that, and data mining, and all those kinds of applications that we see, but they are still the foundation of communicating things. And we're going to talk today about sorting, filtering, grouping, calculating, and formatting. And we're going to do some of that in Excel today, and there's going to be a little assignment that you're going to work on as well. So let's just hold off on that. We talked about, we'll do one of these, we talked about an RFM analysis. Remember, we take our customer base, not customers we want to attract, but our customer base, and we look at how recently they purchased, how frequently they purchased, and how much they spent. And that can help us determine what kind of a relationship we want to have with them. Obviously, we don't have enough time. We'd love to go out and visit every customer, and try to recruit them, but we don't have that kind of time. So maybe we look at a place like St. Louis Soccer Club, and this was a great customer, right? They bought from us frequently, they spent a lot of money, but they've gone away. So that's business I want to win back. So they deserve a visit. They deserve some attention. Maybe they deserve a discount, right? That's what we want to do. And that's how we can use this information to make decisions, all right? So the next thing I'm going to talk about, this is the last concept I'm going to talk about today, then we're going to move in Excel, is we're going to talk about something called an OLAP cube, okay? And it stands for, OLAP stands for Online Analytical Processing. And if you look at it, it kind of looks like what? A tool that we kind of used, and some of you had me for Stat 301 last year, and some of you had me for Stat 301 now. What does this tool look like? A tool that we use in Excel, which is what we're going to use to kind of mimic an OLAP cube. What did we use? Yeah, it looks like a pivot table, right? So one of the things in an OLAP cube, some terminology that's important is, and I don't know if it's on the slides for sure, but we can break things down into categories, and the things we break down into categories are called dimensions. Okay, so if we look at it, dimensions are things like gender, male, female, maybe political party, Republican, Independent, Democrat, maybe the product family. These are examples of what we call dimensions. That's how we look at the data by various dimensions. The type of supermarket, okay? Dimensions are categorical. What we look at inside the dimensions, we call measures. So in this example, sales would be a measure. Under the dimension food and deluxe market, the sales measured 70,000. Maybe account. Whatever we're measuring in this OLAP cube is called a measure. Now, the fact that it says online analytical processing, this online speaks to the fact that it's online, meaning it's interactive, right? Like a report is kind of static, right? It's a piece of paper. You can't push on a measure and drill down into it. Online means we can interact with it. And that's kind of a pivot table as an action, right? You can pivot on it. So it's online, and I used a term there. I used a term called drill down. And what does drill down mean? What does drill down mean? Kind of saw this last night when you were watching election results. How did they drill down on those maps? What was a drill down? How did they do those things? That's an example of OLAP, if you think about it. How are they drilling down? You guys watch the election results? Yes. How do they drill down? Are those touchscreen maps? Drill down. Matt? Okay, so very good. That was an example of online, right? They could say okay, let's see what happened in 2012. But the drill down feature was when they said, okay, let's drill down now into this county, right? let's go, like we're looking at the state, let's drill down and see what happened in this county, right? That's an example of drill down. You take, more coarse data and drill down to get to a more granular level, right? That's what drilling down means. So I see this, I see that in the deluxe supermarket there was $70,000 worth of food sold. Maybe I want to see exactly, what kind of food item. So I drill down into that value. Does that make sense? That's the online nature. So Matt, when you said, let's look at the years, let's sort this by men, let's sort this by females, independents, Republicans, Democrats. That's an example of the online nature of it, right? The fact that it's a cube because I can look at it through different dimensions, right? Something I can interact with. That's what the online and online analytical processing stands for. Drill down is the fact that I can go to another level deep. So here's what we're going to do. So that's the last concept I want to talk about today. But I want to kind of look at these things. So I want to show you ways that we can do the 5 functions. And I think you've probably seen this, especially if you had me for stats. But I want to see how useful things like sorting, filtering, grouping, calculating, and reporting can be when we have some data. So let's go to, if you would, open up your laptops, go to Blackboard, go to course material by chapter, go to chapter 9, uh-oh. And I want you to click on retail preview sample.xlsx. Okay, so it's under chapter 9. Looks like it's the 3rd thing down. So I want you to bring up that file. You guys have it up on this board under chapter 9. It's retail preview. Okay. So one of the tools that we see up here, a very useful tool, is sorting. Okay, that means putting things in a certain order. So let's say, I'm not sure what this is sorted by right now, but let's see, I want to see the number of people that bought the ABC widget. Well, what I can do, and I'd like you to do this, is let's click on A through H, okay, all the data, and go up here to Data. There's a couple ways to do this. And click on the sort, the big sort. And let's add, let's sort by, make sure it says my data has headers is checked, so that'll bring up these. And let's sort by product, A to Z. Okay, so I'm going to sort by product, A to Z. I click OK, and it puts all the ABC widget cells together, all the Miko widgets together, and all the XYZ widgets together. So, that in itself can be useful, right? To sort items by something you're interested in that way, okay? Let's go back to that. Let's leave that area highlighted and go to sort again. And let's say I want to see by product, but I'm also going to add a level. So I click on that Add Level button, and within the product sort, I want to sort by payment method. and I'm going to click OK. So now what we see is all the ABC widgets are together, and then first we see the ABC widgets that were bought with cash, then those that were bought with credit card, and finally those that were bought by debit card. And that itself can be useful to sort something in a certain order, so I can group things, like things together, and I can go multiple levels. So I can add another level to say, oops, I'm going to delete that level. I'm going to add, let's click on this one, and I'm going to say add a level. So within that, let's also sort by in-store. So now all the ABC widgets together, within that all the caches together, and then the in-stores no's and yeses together. So we can have multiple hierarchies to this, right? So that can be very useful to us because now I know, here are the only 3 of ABC widgets that were cached that were not bought in store. Okay, so I know they mailed cash back and forth. Okay? So that's very useful, all right? Another thing we can do, so sorting, we've all used sorts, so I just wanted to show you that. We can also do something called filtering. Okay, what is filtering? What is filtering? What is filtering? What does a filter do? What does a filter do? So, you filter your Instagram photo, what does it do? It looks at it a little differently, right? It puts a different lens on it, yes? And when we filter something, that's what we're doing. We're saying, I don't want to see all this. Maybe I only want to see a subset of these things. So we can do this. Let's leave that all highlighted. And instead of clicking on sort, let's click on under data again. Let's sort on filter. And then when I do that, you see it recognizes, hey, that first row is all items. And let's say I want to filter out, so let's go under product. And let's say I only want to see Miko widgets. So I unselected select all, and I checked Miko widgets. So I'm going to click OK. And now all those items are still there, right? Like your picture, when you filter it in Instagram, is still your picture, but it's through a different lens. And that's what we're doing here. We still have all those transactions, but I filtered it so I only see the Miko widgets themselves. And you see it goes from like 1 to 38 to 30, because those 37 items are still there, but we filtered them out. Does this make sense? I can go further, like say I want to filter on Miko widget, and let's go to items amount, and let's go to number filters. I'm going to click on number filters, and I'm going to say I only want to see the transactions that are greater than, and let's say $100, because we have a bunch of 24, 48. So I only want to see Miko widget transactions that are greater than $100. So I went to number filter there. I don't know if you guys saw that. I went to click on that, went to number filter, and then there's all kind of filters. I said greater than $100. I click OK. And now, we're down to, hey, we filtered out all the other things besides Miko widgets. And within Miko widgets, we're filtering out anything that's not $100 or more. Does this make sense? So we're kind of just seeing what we want to see. The data's still there, but now we see what we want to see. If I go to that little funnel, you can see it's filtered now. If I want to clear that filter, I can do that. If I want to, there are also date filters. So under timestamp, let's go to timestamp. Let's go to date filters. And let's say I only want to see things that are, I don't know. Let's say after January 1st / January 0101 / 2010. I guess I could use the number to do that, but January 1st of the calendar. OK. Now it filtered out those dates. So filtering, as you can see, is a very nice tool. Okay, so that can be very useful to you. Make sense? Let's unfilter all these things. So I'm going to X out clear filter from timestamp. I'm going to clear filter from the product. And I think I'm all good. Let's turn off the filters as well. So that is sorting and that is filtering. Let's sort. What do we have these sorted by? Let's resort here. Let's sort by, I don't know, I'm going to delete level. I'm just going to sort by product again. Okay, so I have everything by product. So I have cash, I have ABC widgets, I have Miko widgets, and I have XYZ widgets. So you guys got this, right? Now, grouping things, sorting just puts it in order, but grouping them together can also be beneficial to me because it allows me to do kind of this second thing as well, this fourth thing as well as calculating. So leave everything highlighted. And under data, again, I want you to go to subtotal. So see over here in the outline, there's something that says subtotal. You guys see that? So I'm going to say at each change in, what do we call product, I want to add a subtotal for item amount. So that's checked already. That's good. And I don't know, let's say payment method. Okay, so we'll get a count. And it says replace current subtotals. That's good. And let's do a page break between groups so that when we print it, everything's on its own page. And summary data below is OK, so I click OK. And what this has done, I don't know if you saw when I clicked that OK, it built a little outline over here. We see 1, 2, 3 levels. And now you'll see the ABC widgets, they're grouped together under ABC widgets. And we see that there were $2,192 worth of that. Under Miko widgets, there were 4,288, and under XYZ total, there was that many. And this is, an outline view. So if I click on one over here in this outline, it goes to the highest level, which is the grand total of 8,396. If I click on 2, it goes down to that level of the subtotal, right? So I don't see all the data. I just see the information. And if I go to 3, I see all the details, and the information as well. Okay. All right. So good example of grouping and calculating. All right. Let's see. So let's go to subtotal again, and I'm going to say remove all. Okay. So I'm just going to make it plain old data again. We talk about reporting. Okay, so reporting is making information in such a way that is consumable to individuals, right? So a couple things we can do, and this is nice tool. I think I showed you this in Stat 301 and maybe a couple other classes. If we highlight all our data, so let's highlight A1 the whole way down through H177, and go up here to Insert, and click on Table. So we're going to make that group of data a table, and it says, does your table have headers? And it does. So my table has headers. I'm going to check that box. And now it's treating that data as one set of data, which is kind of nice because now I get stuff like banded rows, right? So I can more easily reporting. I want to more easily show this information. It's easier for someone to read because it's a different color each row. I can change things with that, right? I could change Because I'm selected on it, I get these table tools, and I can make it, various styles. I can add a total row if I like, so now it has a total row down below. I can turn that off. I can get rid of it has filtering built in. I can get rid of the filters if I want. Well, I guess I can do it a different way. But I can sort right here. I can filter right here. All of these things are possible with a table. Okay. So let's undo this, what we did. So I'm going to click the undo button, click undo again, click undo again. I'm going to get it back to like the data. So just undo all the tables and just get back to the raw data. Now I want to show you this because the assignment I'm going to give you guys, ask you to do multiple things, right? Does these 5 tools, and also we're going to talk about the OLAP cube. But what I ask you to do is we have one set of data, but I want you to do different things for that set of data for question 1, for question 2, for question 3, and question 4. One of the beautiful things about data is it is digital, so we can replicate it. So what I might do is say, I might tell you, take this file and sort it by, payment method. But before I do that, I don't want to disturb the original data. I don't want to disturb the original transaction file. So what I'll do is I'll copy that worksheet to another worksheet. And that's what I'm going to do first. So if I right-click on transactions, I want to show you this. Right-click on it. Go up to Move or Copy. And then click on the checkbox Create a Copy. And click OK. And now I have transactions. That's my original data. But transactions 2 is an exact copy of transactions. You guys have that? And I'm going to right-click on that transactions 2. Am I going too fast? And click on Rename. And let's just put in there question 1. And hit Enter. So now I have transactions, my original data. I don't want to screw that up. And I have question 1. And what's also nice, I can rename that tab. And if I want, I can give it a tab color, just like, if you ever have like a report where you have those little tabs, you get a multiple color. So let's give that a purple color. So kind of, you can do that if you want. It kind of hangs out. If I want to move that over, and I do, I can just hold down my left mouse button. And you see that arrow. If I want to drop it there, I can drop it there. Okay. So when I give you the assignment, I'm going to ask you, I'm going to give you a worksheet, and I'm going to ask you, I say, make a copy of it, call it question 1, and then take that question 1 and sort it. Make another copy of it, call it question 2, and now I want you to filter it. You know what I'm saying? So when you turn it in, you're going to have your original data, but question 1 is going to be your sorted version of that data. Question 2 is going to be your, you guys know what I'm saying? The other way, kind of quicker to make a copy of it, if you go to transactions again, just click on transactions and hold down the control key and also the left mouse button. So hold down the left mouse button and the control key, and you see where my cursor turns into? It looks like a little sheet with a plus. You guys see that? Well, that means I've just made a copy of that for you. Where do you want to put it? So I'm going to put it right after transactions and just drag it over there, and then take your mouse off the left, take your finger off the left mouse button. That's another way to copy it. So there's more than one, that's probably a faster way, but, just wanted to show you that, okay? All right. So a couple things, right? Those are all examples of using tools to take data, to sort it, to filter it, to format it, to group it, to calculate it, right? So that's all things we can do. Let's make this into, let's take, transactions 2, and let's work on a pivot table, okay? So pivot table is kind of Excel's version of an OLAP cube. And I know you guys have done this in Stat 301, but it bears doing it again. So highlight all the data. In whatever file you want, whatever copy of the file you want. Go to Insert, and go to Pivot Table. And it says, hey, where's your data? Well, I already told you where my data is. It says, where do you want this pivot table? Well, I want a new worksheet. And I come up with this. So you see, I still have my copies of my original worksheet. I have the copies of it. And I also have a new sheet called Sheet 3, which I can rename to, let's rename that to OLAP right now, just so that we know it's separate. So I'm going to take that Sheet 3 and rename it to OLAP. Now, what are things in here? These are all the fields that I have access to. Give me an example of a field that would be known as a dimension. Give me something over here that's a dimension. What would be a dimension that I'd want to look at this by? Remember, OLAP cube, I want to look at it by a dimension. What's a dimension here? Give me a field that represents a dimension. Sure. So product is a product type like ABC widget, Miko widget is a dimension. So let's take product and drag it down to the rows. So now I have ABC widget, Miko widget, XYZ widget. Yes. Give me another dimension. Give me another dimension. So I want to look at this by multiple dimensions. Yes? What's that? Sure, payment method, cash, credit card, whatever there. So let's take payment method and drag it to the columns. So now I have ABC widget, cash, credit card, debit card, grand total. Now give me an example in here of something that would be a measure, and something, probably the most important measure when we're talking about a transaction file. What would be the measure that we want to look at for those things? What? That would be a dimension too, in store or not. What do you think the thing we want to measure within, hey, we want to see, by type of product, by the way they paid.
How much it was?
Sales, yeah, like that's the most important thing, like how much do we sell? So item amount, if we sum that up, will end up being sales. So drag that to the values area. It should say sum. Okay, so now we have an OLAP cube. We have ABC widget, and $816 worth of them were bought by cash. ABC widgets, $1,088 were bought by credit card. You guys see this? So a couple things I can do, and I think you guys have seen this before. Let's make this look like money. So I'm going to click on that drop down, go to value field settings, and I'm going to change that number format to currency and get rid of the decimal places. So it looks like money. Make this bigger because there we go. And when I'm on this pivot table, under design, I have all kind of other tools as well to use. But we call this thing a pivot table because we can pivot the way we look at it. So right now I have by product and payment method is over on the columns, but maybe I want to pivot the way I look at it. So let's take payment method and drag that below product. See when it turns green and drop it. Now I have the same information presented a slightly different way, right? I've just pivoted my view of it, if you will. That's why it's called a pivot table. If I wanted to drill down, okay, well, maybe I want to drill down on that $816 worth of cash that was bought for ABC widgets. Okay, drill down, you think about drill through, all we need to do is double click on that 816. And what it does is it shows you those, looks like 23 items that comprised those $816 worth of cash items bought with ABC widget, and now I could do analysis on this, right? I could do, I could do analysis just on those items. Does this make sense? So that's an example of drilling down. Now, other ways we can interact with this, and I think, let's go back to our OLAP cube. Let's take, I think Malik mentioned in-store. So let's put in-store on the column. So now we're looking at it kind of by 3 dimensions, right? We're looking at it by what was the product, was it bought in-store or not, yes or no, and how we paid for it, right? That's pretty powerful stuff. But maybe instead of using it as a column dimension, maybe it's something I want someone to be able to interact with. So let's get this in-store and let's remove it. Let's go back to where it was, where you can undo. But let's go click on your pivot table, go to Analyze, and let's, instead of putting it as a column, let's do an Insert a Slicer. So click on Insert Slicer, and let's do a slicer of in-store, and click OK. And let's make it nice and orange. And now remember, online means it's interactive. We can interact with it. That's really shakes that. It's shaking. Do you guys see it shaking? I get close, I really notice how much it's shaking. I don't worry about myself. I drank too much coffee. Am I having a stroke today, or what's going on here? So if I want to just see the in-store items, I click on Yes. And now this is just showing the items that were bought in store. If I want to see the ones that weren't bought in store, I click on No. And this is only showing the ones. And I can add, I can go back to my pivot table. I can add a slicer for, let's instead of adding a slicer, let's insert a timeline. And let's do the timestamp. And now I have another thing that I can interact with. Make it orange, make it match. And maybe I'll change this to years. So now if I only want to see items that were bought in, 2010, it looks like nothing was bought in 2010, but maybe 2013. Now I'm only seeing items that were bought, in store, not bought in store. I'm seeing it by product, by payment method in 2013. So that's an example of filtering. That's an example of interactivity. So these are all examples of just reporting, right? And traditionally reports were very much, when I went in the banking industry, everything was push reported. You know what I mean? Like every day, if you had a certain function, you're in operations and banking, you got a report. This is the daily report that you had to work. Whatever you were doing, like overdrafts or something like that. And it was static, it was paper. As I left banking, things became more online and more interactive, right? Instead of working a static report, it became much more of this kind of stuff, things that people interacted with to do their job, okay? And think about this. Now, we did this analysis on roughly, what do we have here? Transactions. We had roughly 176 transactions, okay? Not roughly, exactly 176 transactions. But to do that analysis, if I had, instead of 176 transactions, I had 176,000 transactions, how much more effort would have that been on my part? To do that same analysis. It would have been the same, right? Maybe I had to go down a little lower, to select all the data, but it was the same exact process, right? Which is amazing, right? That's pretty phenomenal. When we take 176,000 records, it's going to take Excel more work, more processing power for sure, more memory, all those things. But you and I, and the results that come back, well, have more numbers, bigger numbers, but it's the same damn interface, yes? It's the same thing. All right. So, let's go back to something we started this discussion with. So let's go to your transactions file. And remember, we talked about an RFM analysis. Okay, so I have all these transactions, and these transactions were formed by customers. So one customer might have done multiple transactions. Hopefully they did, right? Hopefully they did multiple transactions. But I want to take my existing customer base, and maybe this should have been 176,000 records. And I want to rank all those customers by recency, by frequency, and by how much they spent. Using the tools that I just taught you, how could we do that? Let's not start with recency because that's the hardest one to do. So F&M. How could I figure out money? Okay, let's do money first. Let's do let's do M first. Come on. I want to figure out the amount of money that each customer spent with me. There's many ways I can do that. Give me one way I can do that.
Pivot table.
Okay, and how would I do that? You're right, I could do a pivot table. How would I do that, Katana?
Click on all the data, insert pivot table,
Okay,
and then put customer ID in the rows and item amount in the columns.
very good. So I could do insert pivot table, click OK. She's right, I could drag customer ID to the rows. So there's all my customers. And I could drag items amount to the values. And it's saying count of items, but that's not what I want. For the amount of money, I want the amount of money. So I could do value field settings, and I could change that count to sum. So what? So now I have, at least what I have now is I have, customer 100030975 spent $348 with me. Customer 100683184 spent $768. But what do I want to do now? What's the next thing I want to do? Because I don't want to just see how much they spent, but what was the RFM analysis all about? What did I come up with then? Right, I want to rank them basically, right? I want to see who are my ones, and who are my twos, and who are my threes, and my fours, and my fives. So how could I do that? How could I put all my big buck customers together and my small people together so that I could rank them? Come on, how can I put things together, Tim? You know how to do it, just say it, Tim. How can I put things together? What do I do to put things together that are alike, that are in order? I sort. So right-click on item amount. Go to sort and say sort largest to smallest. Now we're not going to bring all this together because we don't have time for that, but I could clearly give all these customers, these would be all ones. Maybe if they spend over $100, they get a 1. They're the best customers, right? And then the middle customers would get, I don't know, we could do 1 through 5, but maybe all the 72s get a 2. And everyone that spent less than $50 gets a 3, right? So we rank our customers, yes? And there's more sophisticated ways to do that, but do you see we have, for each of these customers, they now have a money rank, a 1, 2, and 3. Does this make sense? Yes? That's tough. Okay. How about frequency? Frequency. Tim is exactly right. So he said, would you just change it from the sum back to the count? Yeah. Would we not? So I'm going to change it from sum, and I'm going to change that valued field settings back to count. And now, these are the customers and the number of transactions, right, that they did. That's how we determine frequency. So this one bought from us 41 times. This one bought from us 12 times, 9 times, 8 times. And we could rank them, right? 1s and 2s and 3s. Yes? Very good. So we got the F done. We can't really do this next one with the pivot tables. It's kind of hard. But recency, what do I need to focus on for recency? What field? Like, help me there. What field do I need to figure out? So I'm going to go back to the original transactions. What do I need to focus on for recency? What's that? Very good, the timestamp. When did they buy? So this is what I'm going to do. I am going to sort this data, and this is kind of a tricky thing, but I'm going to sort this data this way. I'm going to say data, and I'm going to sort it, and I'm going to sort it by customer ID, and then I'm going to add a level, and I'm going to sort it by timestamp, newest to oldest. So I want the most recent ones first. So what I'm doing is I'm sorting all the customer transactions together, and then within their transactions, I'm going to sort by that timestamp. So the most recent one would go first. So if I click OK, I can see like 100300975, bought from us, looks like 3 times. And these are the 2 most recent and the 1 older, right? So if I look at like this customer, 100128865, they 2013, 2002. But all I care about is the most recent transaction. I don't care about that they bought from us 5, 10, or 10 times, because that's taken care of in the F. I don't care how much money they spent. I just care about when their last transaction was. So if I look at which transaction do I care about for all these people, all these customers? Which transaction do I care about for all these people?
The latest one, the most recent.
The most recent one. Very good. So what I can do is I can sort this, not sort it, just highlight it. And this is something that you really don't know how to do. But I'm going to go to conditional formatting. No. Oh, sorry, I can't think of where that's at right now. Oh, it is there. Okay. So I'm going to go to Home, Conditional Formatting, and I'm going to go to Highlight Cells Rule. No, that's just going to highlight them. There is. Well, we'll just do that for now, but that's not the right way. But let's go to Home, Conditional Formatting, Highlight Cell Rules, go to Duplicate Values, oh, good thing we're out of time. What the hell is that? Anyways, what we're going to do on Friday is we will delete all the duplicates, so we're only retaining the first one. So I mean, it's going to get rid of all these, it's going to get rid of all these, and all we're going to keep is the first one. So hold on to that. I'm going to save this on this computer. And hold on, so save that somewhere, and we'll do that on Friday. So I hope you have a good day.